joined today right now on RealAgriculture.com by Drew Lerner. He is with World Weather Incorporated. Welcome today, Drew.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me.
Drew, let's talk about Western Canada. Definitely been wet like you had predicted. Have we turned the corner and we head for some drier times in the West?
Well, it depends on where you are. Of course, the area that's really dry at the moment is in the northwest part of Saskatchewan and also in the northeast and east central parts of Alberta. Some of these areas have actually been a little too dry here the last couple of weeks. The soil, the topsoil has dropped down enough that the seeds that were put into the ground recently don't have any moisture to work with. Now, all we would need is about a half inch of moisture, and we probably would bring those seeds into germination and emergence very quickly. And then they would be able to perform just fine thereafter because there's plenty of subsoil moisture there. In fact, you go down a couple of inches in the soil and there's plenty of moisture already there. So it's just a matter of stimulating the germination process and to get that first root to get down into where the moisture is, and everything's going to be fine. But for right now, it's pretty dry in some of that area. The rest of the prairie is still dealing with periodic precipitation, and certainly we have not turned the corner on the excess moisture situation in the southeast. It still looks pretty grim there.
So, what are you looking at for a summertime period here? Are you looking for above average heat then for Western Canada?
No, there won't be any above average heat. I think that we'll have some warmer days. So it'll definitely be a warmer summer than last year, but that doesn't say a whole lot. Last year was pretty wet and pretty cool. So we are going to see a lot of precipitation across the majority of the prairies as we go forward through this coming summer. The average temperatures, though, are especially in southern parts of Saskatchewan and some of the immediate neighboring areas with the U.S. border will have a little bit of a cooler bias, I think, in general. But we'll have some warmth around. Like I said, it won't be too bad from that perspective. A lot of rain, though, across Saskatchewan. We'll probably see the greatest rains pulling away from the southeast corner of the prairies a little bit, so that Manitoba might get a little bit of a break. I'm not suggesting that they're just going to all of a sudden turn dry, but they will see probably less intensive rain for a while Saskatchewan starts to see an increase in precipitation. And then for those areas in the northwest that are a little bit on the dry side right now, they will see some timely rain, probably beginning in the next couple of weeks, and then occurring routinely for the rest of the summer.
Well, if you look at last year, like you said, we were a bit cooler. But if we're going to have some later seeding than optimal time, probably a cooler summer as opposed to a blazing summer of plus 35 for 2 months. Possibly that cooler summer is a bit better for growing conditions.
Well, it is and it isn't. We have to accumulate those degree days, and if we don't accumulate them quickly enough, of course, we'll run the risk of still trying to grow the crop in the middle of September, and that may not go over really well if we manage to get a frost or freeze event coming through. So, I understand what you're saying. We definitely would be. To our advantage to probably not see the temperatures get excessively hot because the crop really needs a time to really develop favorably. The ideal situation is that we would have a slightly warmer bias gradually evolving as we go through the summer, and then of course we have very late autumn freezes. But I don't think that all that's going to come together just as it sounds. I think we're more likely to see a little bit of a cooler bias, like I said, where the degree day accumulations in the south will be a little bit below average, and I'm not completely convinced that we're going to be able to extend the growing season very far.
Yeah, like last year, we had relatively of an open fall across the west too. We were allowed to get the harvest in. What are your early predictions for this fall?
I think we'll probably do okay on precipitation. Again, I think the situation is going to evolve so that we will see the seasonal drying coming along. It's going to be a little bit late. We're going to have rain through most of August, maybe even into the first week of September, and then we'll start to dry down a little bit. But that, again, like you said, if we've got the crop going in late, that's not a bad situation. The key is whether or not we can hold off that cold air in September. I'm pretty convinced we won't see any real threatening cold in August. But I'm not completely convinced at this point that we won't have some kind of a frost and freeze event of significance in September. Of course, that's what we're supposed to see at that time of the year. And I know that we're all really kind of hoping that we can avoid that this year. We did really well the last couple of years in avoiding early season frost and freezes, but I think everyone knows also statistically you can't keep doing that year after year. Eventually, it's going to catch up with us.
Yeah, very, very true. Okay, Drew, well, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, great. Thanks for having me. Have a good day.